Hi, everybody, and welcome to the RHAP B&B for week 9 of Survivor 49. My name is Mike Bloom, and some people might have been yelling 9 at the screen when they saw all the things that a lot of people were doing in this episode. A bit of a contentious vote out, an idol not flushed yet again. The idol toilet's clogged at this point, and there's no plunger in sight. There might be a plunger considering the fried chicken reward. I don't know what's going on with the
There's so many red flags in this intro. Everybody,
what the German?
For some reason.
The German to start and the fried chicken toilet analogy. You know it's an episode of the B&B, and of course the mellifluous tones you just heard is my partner in crime here, who I would always give a reward to no matter what, Liana Boraas.
Yeah, I also wouldn't be surprised if you were like, and I've also been having weird dreams about chickens. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Porque no los dos. Well, I am thrilled to be bringing this person and making his B&B debut as well. We're bringing a lot of newbies in to the B&B this season. Now, of course, this weekend is the opening of the much anticipated sequel, Wicked for Good. But 1 year ago, we saw him donning scarecrow pants on the islands of Fiji. It is Teeny from Survivor 47.
Hi, guys. I am so stoked to be here. And honestly, less about talking about the episode, which I'm super excited to do, but more to just hear these analogies and segues and Mike-isms. Like, this is incredible.
Do you want a kangaroo metaphor too?
I was really hoping that you'd have one. So
I'm sorry to leave you hopping mad that there wasn't one.
That was wild. That was wild. That had my jaw on the floor. Like, from the second the hands went up, space or kangaroo, to the denial of there being a kangaroo one at all, like that was a crazy moment. That was just insane.
I would love to have known what was going through Steven's head, where he was like, okay, obviously I have a space metaphor. What's like the other category I'm going to go with? Of course, it's a kangaroo of all things. I feel like there's something with like,
why would he think after a day of space, right? Because they were talking about space for a long time out there, that Jeff wouldn't throw the curveball and choose the other thing. So maybe having something prepared, I don't know. That was wild.
I mean, I don't know. Part of me is like, as maybe a connoisseur of stupid canned bits, as you've experienced in the first 2 minutes of this podcast, like, this does sound like something that Steven has tried out a number of times of like, all right, I've got a blank metaphor and a kangaroo metaphor. Go with the kangaroo one. Oh, it's too bad. I only have space metaphors. Like that sound. Steven is essentially like a dad joke in waiting. Like the moment he becomes a father, and I'm saying when, not if, because it just feels like that energy is naturally bred into him. He already has these types of things for days. And so it does feel like he was kind of trotting that out for Jeff, but it came very out of nowhere. And, we are talking a bit about how maybe Survivor 49 is starting to have the seams show a little bit, right? The Botox is wearing off. We're starting to see the wrinkles a little bit on the face of the new era. And maybe that's not nowhere more apparent than the fact that someone is literally saying at Tribal Council, like, hey, Jeff, I'm going to give you 2 choices of metaphors, since I know that's essentially what Tribal Council is nowadays, a venue for metaphors.
That is the metaphor for the new era, honestly. Yeah.
But it is nothing but metaphors. Yeah, do we like ban metaphors moving forward after 50? No more metaphors.
I don't know if you saw, there was a clip from Tyson's podcast this week where he I think it was his co-host Riley propositioned that like you should get a disadvantage at the next challenge if you make a metaphor at Tribal Council.
I just don't understand where they come from, honestly. Like, I actually remember having some anxiety going out there being like, I cannot produce a Survivor-related metaphor on the fly like that. Like, my brain, even as like a writer, like I just can't, I can't do it. I don't know how. There seems to just be no drying up the well when it comes to this.
Well, I think it comes with the preparation. You need to practice fire.
You
need
right
to practice puzzles. You need to have at least like 5 to 6 metaphors banked up there in the noggin.
You are right about that. Yeah.
Well, but whether it be using metaphors, analogies, or just plain old literal language, Teeny, I want to hear your thoughts about 49 so far, because believe it or not, there's only a month left of this season. So how do you feel about the way things have been taking shape, especially these past couple of votes, as sort of improbable on the surface as they have been?
Okay, so I'm listening to quite a lot of podcasts, which already gives you good tell about how I feel about the season, because like after, the craziness of my season and then immediately 48 following it, I took a step back. Like I am quite invested in this season. I am really enjoying it, especially the last few episodes. Like I remember watching the merge episode and like, it's a good episode. Nothing like crazy, nothing like the banana etiquette, but because it was a blindside on Nate, it was like a division of tribes. Like it did in some ways feel like a return to classic Survivor. And so I feel like I've come away from the past 3 episodes being very excited to see what the reaction to the vote will be the next week, being very like either frustrated by some of the decisions, confused about some of the decisions, but like ultimately just feeling something, having like emotions evoked from me, being able to put myself into different people's positions and like, what would I do? Like, wow, how is he doing that? That was something I couldn't do ever. Like, how is Sophie not telling anyone about this? Like, is she going to use it this week? Like, there are quite a few different angles and pathways and relationships that have me hooked. And I feel like a lot of people are sort of being hard on this season. And yes, there's some like quirkiness that doesn't like strike super well with me that if I were out there, would have had a really hard time putting on a brave face being around. But there is also just like an unfolding of the dynamics that's like super intriguing to me, that I'm excited to come back to week. And maybe that doesn't sound like a high bar, but like, it's for me to still be able to watch the show and be hooked by some of the things that are going on. I think that's like incredible. I think I'm in on the post merge of 49 for sure. I'm in.
I think you highlighted 2 key points that stand out for me about the season, which are dynamics and decisions. Like that's kind of that's the buckets I put it in, because I think what we're seeing is what I
That's
thought
your
would have been
D&D.
that's my D&D. Love it. Hopefully they can roll a 20. Let's go. Okay, so I don't know, saving throw, whatever. So look, the point is that I think it's like I was going to say frustrated, but yes, frustrated and fascinated by the individual decisions that are being made, which is, of course, regulated by the dynamics. So, like, I'm looking at what I perceive to be like clear groups of people, and then seemingly others acting not in their best interest, given the dynamics, which goes back to their decisions that they're making. So, I think like the key example from this particular episode would be Sage and Jawan.
Right.
Yeah. What are we doing here? Right. Or maybe it's Christina trusting Sophie B with just telling her straight out the plan, which from our perspective, we see how close Sophie B is to Rizzo and Savannah. Yeah. So I'm like, Christina, girl, what are you doing? So again, decisions and dynamics. I think that that's a perfect way to encapsulate, especially this post-merge, which has just been so wacky.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, there is, again, this improbable aspect of how the hell Rizzo is getting away with not playing a public idol for now 3 weeks in a row. I mean, I don't know. I know he says that, like, okay, we just need to get through this vote and then we'll use it next time. The way things are going, I think there's a very fair chance that he will either use the idol at the final 5 or not use it at all, just to like really drive the point home. But I agree that I think that they kept talking about that it's fluid, and it really does seem like everyone is approaching each day from more of an individual standpoint, not even from like, okay, who do I want to work with, but like, who is a threat to my game? That's where I guess the Sage and Jawan of it all comes in, is that they felt, for whatever reason, more threatened by Alex. They felt like that was the opportunity to strike at Alex as opposed to keeping in Rizzo for that moment. Sophie, just one word, is apparently now really this free agent and being motivated by that. What'd you say?
She got LASIK.
Yeah,
she got like my favorite confessional. That was
you can
so
see
funny.
clearly now
that
the rain is gone. But I think all that on the surface is really intriguing. I do agree that I think the post-merge has significantly stepped things up in terms of intrigue. I think one thing that's still a little missing for me, though, is the storytelling supporting those decisions. I talked about this last week, but I feel like this week even more, we're getting a lot of tell don't show. Specifically when it comes to the Alex boot of it all. Now, look, there is a chance that Rizzo was able to tarnish this man's reputation over the course of a day and a half by just embellishing stuff, or making stuff up. But I don't know. I personally think that Jawan's supposition, his perception that like Alex is doing too much, Alex is messy, had to come from something, right? Like Alex had to have been doing something prior to this 2-day period to make Jawan feel a little leery about him. And that was not necessarily presented to us until this episode. I mean, something like even getting Soph's feelings about turning on Alex. I'm sure we'll get it next episode. Not necessarily highlighted. And so I think that this was a really interesting vote because on paper, you could just lambast, half the cast and be like, oh my God, you all are making such dumb decisions. I think there is logic attuned to what these people are doing, but it's not helping that we don't really have access to their logic at this point. And so instead, we're just getting all of a sudden presented to us like, well, Alex is playing the middle too much and now he's got to go. I felt like Rob. I had my hands perennially in the air doing the since when pose during a lot of this episode just because a lot of this kind of came very quickly. And again, this might be telling the reality that actually happened on the island, but my assumption is this had to have been baked in some days prior, no?
I think maybe there was something baked in the days prior, but again, I don't actually know how much of it had to do with Alex, but instead I feel like it had to do with that small group tribal where Rizzo and Savannah and Jawan and Sage were together. Because obviously the rounds prior to that, Jawan and Sage flipped the script on them. They voted out Nate. They voted out Shannon. But then they kind of come together. And through the dynamics of that small group tribal, Jawan and Sage made the choice. We're going to go with them on this one, whether it was out of, fear of the idol and wanting to survive to the next round. But like, I think what the personal dynamic of that choice was sort of like, we're coming together again on this vote and we're going to like go after Hina. And like, establishing that ground, I think, does make a difference, and it can impact the gameplay. Whereas you would think linearly that Sage and Jawan would just continue, like go right back, resume the tirade onto Uli. When you kind of do something together with somebody, it changes the way you talk to each other at camp. It changes the way that you are thinking about the game. And so obviously there's a little bit more trust there built with Savannah and Rizzo and Sage and Jawan, to where that gives, I think, Rizzo the wiggle room to like drive his point home a little bit further. And I think it makes it a little bit more scary for Savannah and for Sage and Jawan to completely flip on them again. I think because they work with them last round, they see, all right, Rizzo and Savannah are forgiving here. They're wanting to work with us. It opens up a little bit more opportunity for them in a way that I think clouds this vision of what's really important here, which is we've already shown them that, they can't trust us. So we need to take them out and the power that they have. So again, and I think if anything, Alex certainly, we saw little clips of him playing the middle, but if anything, I feel like it's not what he was doing, but maybe the lack thereof, which is that like when Rizzo's going like super hard for him and you see Jawan kind of confront him about it, I didn't get the greatest sense of urgency for him to like save himself or to take that fear of maybe going home and put it into practice of like what needed to be done to the level at which Rizzo was gunning for him.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that as like a viable explanation. I can also see like I think what we can sit here and we can speculate about all the reasons why people made decisions. I think the reason why I just would have loved to have seen actually more of that on the show, where then we don't have to speculate about like base decision making. Because then I'm like, oh well, okay. Because what I'm seeing then is I see Sage being like, I want Rizzo gone consistently from last week and this week. So then I'm like, okay, so Jawan and Sage are operating at a pair, but I guess Jawan is calling the shots in this situation. Like, is Jawan the reason why the Rizzo vote's not happening? Like, and also Sage and Jawan know potentially about what Rizzo and Savannah are doing. I mean, they do know. They end up voting for Alex anyway. So they know Alex would be the one on the chopping block if Rizzo does play the idol. So what's stopping them from going to Steven, especially Sage and Steven seemingly have this very close relationship. Steven trust Sage, told her about the idol. So I'm like, okay, then why is like that group not coming together with then Christina and Alex, a group of 5? They all just throw votes on Rizzo. Don't tell Alex the votes are going to come his way if Rizzo plays the idol. I don't know. I I do feel like there's so much more missing, and I really am not understanding why things are happening. And I think that that's where I start to get a little bit well, it's intriguing for sure. I think I start to get a little bit frustrated just because I don't understand.
Yeah. I have been thinking about the idea of that seems to grow more and more insurmountable by the day of why is nobody actively, despite all the plans being thrown out, the actual majority being piled on Rizzo idea never happens. It's 3 tribal councils in now. And again, they might be able to take it. Rizzo might get a good amount of the votes, but I feel like chances are they're still going to come over the top next time, and that idol might not even come into play. So I have 4 schools of thought. This is multiple choice. You can pick between 4 as to what you think is going to be the most. Again, we're doing a lot of sort of filling in the blanks here to Liana's point. A would be Occam's razor, that they are overheated and tired AF. Teeny, you know this firsthand, how much that can be incorporated into your decision making. Whereas just, they're a little brain drained right now. And so maybe it's leading them to take the less obvious outcome. 2 might be this idea that we've talked about this before of the defensive idol plays of, okay, we know that Rizzo has an idol. At least we know where the idol is. If we keep it with him, then that means that the idol won't be re-hidden. And therefore, we know at least where it is at any point in time. Number 3 would be that, okay, Rizzo has an idol, but an idol, even if we flush the idol, an idol-less Rizzo is still less powerful than the threats, the allure of people like MC, like Alex. If we let them go further, they'll get their hooks in people. They'll take me out in their pursuit of $1 million. Number 4, which is perhaps encourages, I think, the most imagination, but has precedent for it, is that Rizzo is not an endgame threat.
Right.
And we have seen this before. Xander in season 41 was a very similar circumstance where everyone was saying, Xander is such a good player. He has this public idol that almost got stolen from him at the merge, and nobody's taking him out. And it turns out that, because no one wanted to take Xander out in general. Everyone wanted to take him to the end because he was a GOAT. So those are my 4 theories. It's brain drain. It's want the idol, don't want the idol back in play. It's he's still less threatening, or it's he's a GOAT. Teeny, are you leaning in any direction when it comes to these 4 options?
I think that for different players out there, one of those rationales is driving each of those things. Like, I think there are probably players who are telling themselves that he's not a threat at all and it doesn't matter. I think that there's probably some level of and I don't know which one this would help me figure out which school of thought this would fall under, but I think there's probably some just push it off procrastination of it all of well, we can just get to this. It's not the most important deal right now.
Yeah.
I think there's a big thing there. And I think that also falls into the brain drain, because that's not how it works. Actually, like you said, it is so easy for him to just win a challenge so he doesn't have to play it one time, and then all of a sudden we're just at 5. You that was us with Rachel. By the time I really came around to realizing that Rachel was somebody who I needed to take out if I wanted any chance, it was too late because she won out and had idols. The point of the game they're in right now feels like there's a lot of time left, but there is really not. It gets down to it so quickly. And so I think that people, even as they're developing their narrative of what they think about the idol, they're wasting time by just not voting for him. But wait, remind me what 2 and 3 were, because I have brain drain and I have the Xander one.
Yeah, so then 2 was the want to keep the idol on somebody so it's not re-hidden and someone else can find it. And 3 is even if we get rid of the idol, he's not as big of a threat as Alex and MC.
Well, I think the idol thing I would imagine you're out there. There's somebody who's saying that, right? There's somebody who's talking about the fact that it's not going to get re-hidden and we won't have to worry about who has it. But that just makes no sense, because I don't know. I am really trying to, when I watch it and I'm watching that these weeks pass by where he is now voted out with it, I just can't understand how these people aren't only aware of like the fact that it's dangerous for them to have this guy have an idol in further and to survive the way he's surviving. And I don't understand how they're not seeing that he's not only surviving, he's like playing the offense too. Like he's like calling the shots. Like he is like, so you really cannot say he's a GOAT, because he gets to the end and he doesn't just say I had an idol and I wasn't voted out. He says, and I made this happen and I made that happen. And again, we have the retrospect of being able to watch him narrate this, and we're being told the story in a certain way. But yeah, I don't know. I cannot understand. If I were there, I feel like Sage, but then again, like it's so confusing. Why didn't she vote for him? I would be doggedly concerned with the fact that he still has an idol and is lasting in the game. Because it's also like, all right, this is now becoming the theme of the season. Like, what do you think the story is here, guys? Like, because it's the story is that he's surviving with this idol. So like, let's kill that story and let's start a new one. Let's like let's start writing our story. And so, yeah, I cannot understand. I was texting with a friend who the Survivor 47 cast went to this restaurant called Liana in Chicago a year ago. And we met the host of this, or the captain of our table was like a big Survivor fan, who's somebody who I like really respect his opinion. And so I asked him his thoughts, and I thought he had some good things.
This is so teeny, though. I know your text story. You love having
Oh,
these
yeah.
chance encounters with people in the wild, and they become, bonded to you for life.
Well, this is like Alinea is like one of the nicest restaurants in the country. I had no business being there, but we get there, and this guy, his name is Hart Vanderploeg, so he's already just this is an AI generated man.
He's an SNL character,
and he waited until probably we were there for 30 minutes to kind of like start showing his cards that not only does he watch the show, he's seen all the Australian seasons. He is like one of the most brilliant thinkers I've ever met to talk about Survivor. And so I texted him because I was going on this. He had some things to say. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to read some of his thoughts.
Let's go into the mind of Hart Vanderploeg.
Hart Vanderploeg, yeah. Okay, so he goes, Sage and Joanne are very, very interesting to me because they flip the script when they vote out Shannon. But after this, they hit Nate, also a great move. But because I thought he is a winner contender. But here's the Breaking Bad analogy. There's a block where Mike talks about a half measure versus a full measure. And I keep thinking about that. Sage and Joanne do the half measure. They act Shannon. They use that to hit Nate, and then they let up. They save face. The next move is you have to go for Rizzo. You have to do it. Have to. It is non-negotiable. This is why we discuss Micronesia in the meta so much, because when the Black Widow Brigade picks their path, they select the hardest path, but it's their path to win, so then they have no choice to execute it. Sage and Joanne set their course and then stop. That is fatal. They cannot work with Rizzo or Savannah after this. I think both of them play the mid-piece of the season excellently, but since then, a disaster. The greats, the mafiosos, they bury their dissenters in the space. They needed to do that. He goes, if you want to flush an idol, you're already identifying someone as your enemy. If someone is your enemy, they have to go. If they are your enemy, be about it. Play them. Play big. You know the easiest way to flush Rizzo's idol, vote him out with it. So he's basically just saying that, like, the idol is Rizzo and Rizzo is the idol. They're the same, and you have to get them both. So, like, you can't just try and flush the idol. You have to like attack and like make that your target. And I think that makes sense. And I was just like, yeah, I think that. And again, I can empathize with the fact that like you can think that way and it's a full measure, but then you're out there with Rizzo and you've been with him for this many days now. And the social part like impacts a little bit. But I wanted to share just like what he thought about that, because I think it is true. It's like you have to, at a certain point, stick to the plan that you've decided on, especially when it's working really effectively.
Dare I say, Hart Vanderploeg for Survivor 51? Can we get the music
go.
of this man on the island?
He will be there. He will get on this show. He will get there. Yeah.
I think the other thing that's really interesting is that, even when we're talking through these like different reasons why decisions are being made, it's about like we're talking about it with Rizzo. It's Rizzo. Rizzo has the idol. Rizzo's not a threat. Rizzo. It's about alliances, guys. Like and this is maybe a sense of where if they're not reading the relationships correctly, like how do you not see at least that group of three of Rizzo, Savannah, and Sophie Sophie B as like a tight group. And then also imagine Sophie S is not shy with her feelings. Literally in an entire group, she goes, wow, so it sounds like you guys wanted me gone. To the rest of everybody else, how do you as a human being think, oh yeah, that lady's still on my side? Absolutely not. In what universe? That gives them a solid group of 4. You're not only playing against the idol, you're playing against an alliance. And I feel like this is something that's been so lost in the new era because we've been all about like, it's so fluid. Jeff loves how so fluid it is. Even when they were
So
like
fluid.
pulling he loves liquid. He's like pulling, I don't know. They're pulling the rocks and he's like, oh, it's changing up the game again. Da, 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 da. The core fundamental of these games is that you create bonds and alliances and groups. You don't function individually. And I just feel like, why is it like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I'm like, why is nobody like thinking about this? Which makes me just go back to it's Occam's razor. It's just that they're smushed out there in the sun and nobody's thinking properly.
Yeah, I mean, I am trying to also read, to your point, why is this trio not being seen as a trio? I mean, it feels like Soph and Savannah are like attached at the hip. They're seen a lot together. That's who Sophie will make her appeal to for the Soph Squared Alliance. But like, we haven't heard we've heard Savannah and Rizzo, and we've maybe heard Savannah and Soph, but we haven't heard the 3 of them. And maybe that's because Soph is doing a good job at like really trying to put forward this front, much like Alex did a couple votes ago of like, listen, I'm up for grabs at this point. Maybe it's that, you see in a secret scene this week that they showed the schoolyard pick for the reward, and Christina picked Sophie specifically because she said, I want to rebuild trust with her. So maybe despite her initial indignation, Sophie has been able to do a good job of like keeping a stiff upper lip, at least on the surface, and saying, we're going to keep Hina strong at this point. I also do think, and this is something that Tina, your friend of me, Sam Phelan, brought up on social media this past week, I do think it's a little bit of us having more information than the players as well, specifically when it comes to advantages.
100%.
Like, I think a lot of us are going into next week being like, it's game over. Rizzo has the idol. Savannah has the extra vote. Soph has knowledge is power. Half the people in the game don't know about Savannah's extra vote. Even though on the surface you'd be like, wait a minute, why did they stop counting the MC votes at 3? Shouldn't there be 6 votes? But again, maybe brain drain. But also, nobody in the game knows about the knowledge is power. So it might be a thing where, yes, it's kicking the can down the road, but they think like, okay, we still might have the numbers next week where even if, Rizzo uses his idol, we have enough votes to get one of the other ones, not being aware that we could see a mini advantage get-in happening next week where just one side piles everything together, makes the Megazord of advantages to take power in the game, and they just don't know about it.
Yeah, I think the answer is partially what we aren't seeing at all, which is I imagine Sophie Bellardi is doing an incredible job of playing the middle and doing an incredible job of talking to each individual and making them feel comfortable. Like, I am more inclined to give the credit here to Sophie Bellardi than I am to take away the perception of people like Christina or even like Sage in the situation to make this decision. Like, we have seen brief snippets of Sophie being able to sit down with Sage and talk some shit on Savannah and empathize with her. And like, I think she has a really good skill to just like connect with people. And we'll do it. At the expense of the people she's actively working with to like put these other people, like convince these other people that she's with them. And so I think that's more to her credit there of playing the middle really well. And I don't think we're being shown that, right? We don't know the relationship with her and Christina at all. But I am more inclined to believe that there really is one. And I think that plays into the point about the fact that we have so much more information than these people. Like, you're out there and you're Christina, like you're playing your own game. Like, you have your web of relationships. Like, we're not being shown that. But like, just because she doesn't know about this or that doesn't mean that like from where she's standing, that she's like not actively making choices or like making alliances or like has people. And so I think that I don't know. I think that there's just a lot that becomes obvious to us when we're watching this edit of these advantages that if you are not in on this 3, it makes you look like, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you thinking? But like I said, this is a period of time in the game where it's like dicey too. Like, you don't want to be rocking the boat so much because it's like a scary point. Like, you're right at the cusp of the end game. And so I don't know. I think that's why some of these players we look at and we criticize right now. But I think it's like there's a couple moving factors, the things that they don't know that we do, and the things that they're being told by the players who are like actively doing a good job at continuing to hoodwink them. are kind of the explanations for that, if that makes sense.
But I think like that's okay. So here's the difference for me is like, I'm not criticizing the players, even though I don't understand the decision. I'm criticizing why I don't understand the decision. Like
Yes,
I'm
okay,
criticizing production for not telling me that. Like
Yeah.
I actually, Teeny, I love that point that you brought up, the fact, because we did see Sage and Sophie B have that kind of like diss track conversation. We saw baby bits of it maybe with Christina. I don't know Sophie B's relationship with Christina. I don't know what Sophie S did to repair her relationship with Christina and Steven. Like show me that.
Yeah.
Like show me what is going on. I'm just so sorry. I'm like actually really I've been so frustrated with the season because I feel like, and again, nothing to do with the players, nothing to do with that. It all comes from the editing and like how the story is being told.
Right.
I just feel like there are so many little things and you like, anyway, okay, sorry.
No,
Rant over.
Right. It's
all about editing.
I know. I think you're completely right. I think that there's things to enjoy, obviously, and I think Teeny brings up a great point. That I mean, we even saw this last season. We're like, you know, Mitch had a reason why he was doing or maybe not doing what he was doing. Hell, let's go back to Redemption Island. Like the people who were part of Barth and Rob's alliance were doing something because they had an idea of what they were doing. Despite what people might suppose out there on the island, everyone is playing the game. Right. It's just a matter of whether those play styles will be showcased to us. And it does make you feel like, okay, you know, is it going to be? And that's maybe why I feel like, even despite the advantages, like this underdog alliance that is slowly becoming the overdogs, like might be the ones that are set up for the end game, is because like we are getting so much of them. The story's really focusing on like how they overcame this numbers disadvantage to take over. And it comes at the cost of finding out from the other side, why are they doing what they're doing? You know, it's a little bit foa galoo, which also makes sense because that was the other, you know, newbie season before a big returning player season, as we saw in season 20. But it feels like even more so we are kind of obfuscating the philosophies that are clearly going through these people's heads. And so now we're sort of left scratching our heads being like, I don't know what's going on with these people. I mean, Sophie S is a great indicator of this because I'm so happy that she has had a sort of like coming out party. It sucks that it's at the cost of her feeling like her standing in the game has completely tumbled, but like she is fiery. She is blunt. Yes, we talked a little last week about like, she can't really be a challenge beast. She only competed in one challenge, but like she is showcasing herself to be quite good at these challenges, just maybe a little less good than Savannah in particular. But like she is a personality, and I am very happy that she has been put more in the spotlight. But there is a part of me that selfishly is thinking like, would have been nice to have seen more of this early in the game, especially when she talks about like, I have been targeted since the beginning. We got a smidge of that back at Hina, but we were just so void of Hina in the very beginning. And that's the other tough thing as well, that I do think the editor's hands were tied a little bit with the Kella of it all, as we talk about the Kella narrative sort of being ended here, because they went to tribal so much of the narrative was being focused on them. And unfortunately, they knew that it was going to end kind of unceremoniously, right? This was not going to be a Malcolm and Denise situation. There might have been an argument of like, Soph is so angry she turns on Alex for what happened with Nate, but that didn't necessarily happen. And so because there was so much happening with them in the beginning, though, it comes at the cost of giving short shrift to these other tribes. We experienced this last season as well. The Vula stuff was an absolute shit show, had nothing to do with the end game. And that just comes with sometimes, as we've talked about very much at the beginning of this season and many seasons, like having a disaster tribe in the new era. They monopolize the airtime just out of necessity. And those narratives don't pay off. And it comes at the cost of developing some people that might become important later on.
Let me tell you what I learned about Steven in this episode. 1, he liked Sage, didn't impact the vote. 2, he knows fun facts about space. And 3, he's having weird dreams about chickens.
Okay.
Tell me how that,
So yes, and that is so funny. But like, all right. And yes, the edit is ridiculous, and I will always put blame on the edit. But I think they hit it right a couple times this episode. I think they hit it right. And I think Survivor is in complete flow state. And this is, you know, obviously also
fluid.
Very fluid.
We love fluid.
You know, I love that. It is in flow state. And obviously this is like 85% on the contestants. But like when the editing can show it, it's great. Is when somebody is in a confessional talking about what they're doing and we're getting cutaways to them doing that exact thing. That like thrills me.
Yeah.
And we got that twice, I think, this episode. And one was with Sophie Segretti being like, I just got LASIK. I woke the fuck up. And then they're showing us her running around camp. She has like a new like lease on life. She is like making choices. She knows what she wants to do. She's doing it and she's telling us what's happening. And so we're learning about her. We're seeing her gameplay. That's incredible. And then same with Rizzo. Rizzo is telling us like, I want to get Alex out. So I'm going to, make up this and I'm going to do that. And then we're getting cutaways to the scenes of him doing that. And like I said, that is on the players to be able to communicate in their confessional. And then it's on the editors to like put it all together into one package for us.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, I'm like, yes, we only learned Steven about facts and this and space facts and all the other stuff. And I'm like, there is something to where, you got to talk about something other than that too, for them to be able to give us a little bit more.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Where it shines when the players are, talking about their game and they're putting it in. It also shines when the players are, overly analogizing the things that they're saying, because it makes it hard to get a really clear picture of what they're actually doing because it's sort of gimmicky. And so that I don't know how much more. There definitely is a lot, I'm sure, on the cutting room floor to like give us insight on Steven's position, but like it also feels like he might be a little bit like sort of complacent in this stage of the game at like what he thinks the rational thing to do is, which is vote out Rizzo, which like we all agree on, but clearly there's so many other things happening there that he's missing. And so then we're just talking about like NASA, and it's like, all right, maybe you need some LASIK too, so we can wake it up and like really figure out what's happening here.
No, it's a good point that like, again, going back to Occam's razor, sometimes it might come down to the fact that like, yes, Steven just wanted to talk about space for these past 2 days. And so that's what it's going to come down to. I will say, one story that I did love is the fact that looking back at that first episode and that day one head-to-head showdown, when it was Alex in the lead, in control, has all the pieces, Rizzo comes from behind and wins and beats him out. And what happens here?
I love that.
Down and out, comes from behind, targets Alex specifically, and takes him out once again. I love that. That is such a fun little arc for these two guys.
I forgot that
it's a fun arc for one of these guys.
I was gonna say, fun is a very subjective term.
Okay, wait, hold on. Just one more thing about Steven. This made me laugh so hard. This is when Rizzo drops in the immunity challenge. Can we like look at Steven's little face?
Enhance.
Look how happy he is. He like looks over at Rizzo. He just gives him this little smile. It was such a cute little moment. I'm obsessed. I loved it.
All right. Well, let's continue on the Alex train here, the campaign trail, as we talk about our thoughts on Alex in the preseason. And Alex was, a happy-go-lucky guy pretty much from day 1 through 17, even through his lovable loser phase. It seemed like the smile never left his face. Even when he was voted out, he was like, they got me, girls. Probably should have done all the middle, the centrist policies that I should have. But I guess the question is, Liana, what did you think the views of Alex would be when it came to the season proper?
Yes. So I had Alex in my run through of the season. I still had like a mergatory situation going on. So Alex, I specifically said goes in the mergatory. So pre-jury. I said, yes. So he's pre-jury. I said in the pre-merge, Alex forms multiple alliances in an attempt to position himself as the glue guy. The Jeremiah, Alex, Annie, and also the sibling alliance with Jake and Sophie B. These alliances do him no good, however, when the mergatory twist puts him in a tough spot alone and only with the remaining Hinas. Alex does his best to whip the votes in his favor, but the Hina lobbyists have outdone themselves I wrote campaign donations and then scratched it out and then wrote just totally free chill dinners, leaving Alex as the black sheep on the hill. Alex is voted out unanimously, leaving the game pre-jury and without a girlfriend. His ally was Jake, and then parentheses I wrote, see other alliances, and then his enemy was the Hina tribe.
I love that you went full Warner from Legally Blonde of like, Alex graduated from Survivor with no girlfriend, no $1 million.
Exactly. And no internship.
All right, well, I had a bit of loftier prospects for Alex. Not, I guess, ascending to the big chair in the Survivor Oval Office, but certainly in the cabinet. I had him making the jury. So I wrote, Alex's warm and relatable personality makes him one of the social hubs of the Keller tribe. Particularly, he makes an immediate connection with Jake as the two get into a bromance to launch 1,000 yaoi edits. Did I really write yaoi? Did I put yaoi in my predictions? This is... Oh, even racy for me. Feeling safely nestled in the tribe, Alex decides any beware advantage won't have much beware in his case, so he decides to embark on some early morning idol hunting. And while he ultimately won't be successful, a tailing Sophie B will wind up finding something, adding a key constituent to her district. When the merge hits, the Kella Cool Kids, parentheses, do not abbreviate this alliance name, Mike. Thank you, Paz Mike. Gets humbled quickly as Jake is taken out. We'll get a scene about Alex putting his political experience to work as we're treated to a montage of him campaigning to a variety of players. A weird mix of patriotic music and Survivor soundscape plays. Survivor Twitter will call it cringe. As Alex gets more comfortable in his position, the office gossip in him comes out, and he commits a headline-making faux pas, even worse than the Howard Dean yell when he spills the info that Sophie B has an idol. Word gets back to Sophie B, who is seeing red at her fellow blue tribe member. She shocks everyone when she plays the idol, and she, Rizzo, and Savannah throw their votes onto Alex to send him out of the game. The guy who came into the season with the attitude of, why not me, will firmly leave it with only one question. Why me? Alex will then reveal at the after show that he works in politics, and he will rise to high prominence when, 10 years later, he becomes the communications director under President Rizzo Velovic, hashtag PresGod 2026.
The man, the myth, the legend.
I am rendered speechless.
PREZGOD PresGod, baby.
Yes. Yeah.
How the hell did you two even come up with this? It's like I am continuously surprised by both their ridiculousness of the like creative like choices that you make when you write these, but also the fact that like there's always like deep truth in your guys' predictions. Like you guys are really good at it, honestly. So wait, I have to pick which one.
You have to pick which one you feel sticks closer to the truth.
Pokemon go to the polls.
Perfect. My favorite thing. God, I feel like both of you had good nuggets of things that happen. Like Mike, you hit on the Jake bromance, which was, you know, really, really prominent in the edit. But I'm like, when did you write this? Did you see that happening?
I didn't. I mean, I saw like the two of them talking on the beach one time, but I don't know.
Liana wins.
The way Jake
Liana wins.
Wow.
Liana wins. No, yes! I feel like Liana's broad strokes were.
Yes.
I feel like your specifics, both of your specifics, kind of got all over the place. And so
what do you mean? I predicted a presidential candidate in the next 10 years.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
He has my vote. But yeah, Liana, I feel like you had the broad strokes down there of you know what happened.
Thank you, Teeny. I appreciate that.
Sorry, Mike. I mean, you get the points for the fan fiction of it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Commission you to write like an alternative ending to Survivor 47 for me.
Oh, listen, I'll make it happen.
I would love that.
I love that.
I would say like then you have your own presidential campaign where it's like, I don't know, Teeny has big thoughts or something, like some sort of campaign slogan.
My high school class presidential campaign slogan was "Don't be a weenie, vote for Teeny," and I handed out gummy little hot dogs, and it worked.
I love that.
Honestly, it was great. Would not be a bad campaign tactic to win the hearts and minds of people. He won at least one heart, and he was the captain of your table in Chicago. But yeah, saying goodbye to Alex, but maybe not for long if he's going to be in the cabinet of Rizzo in just 10 years. Set your alarms, people. Remember to go to the polls on election day 2026 and write in Rizzo.
Wait, is Rizzo? How old is Rizzo?
He's 25, which is why I said a decade later.
He's so he's going to win exactly today. I just saw his girlfriend post for his birthday. So, and that's how I learned he's a little bit older than me. So yeah.
Talk to me a bit about that, actually, because I think that was a little bit of. I feel like there's a little bit of discussion back during your season was the fact that you were one of the younger members of your cast, especially with that endgame group. Do you feel like that age has an effect on either the way you approach the game or the way people perceive you comparatively?
That's a good question. I actually just, I don't know. I think that for me, it was both an advantage and disadvantage. I think that it was an advantage in the sense that people did sort of treat me, perceive me, think of me as like sort of like this disarming little sibling, which is something that I also wanted to project, and I think is just kind of in my nature as well. But then I also think that like I've always been somebody who gets along with older people and likes being around people who are older than me, and so I think that I had that ability to connect with them the same. And I think a lot of young people sort of maybe that's like their misstep. And I think, but I personally can already, see in myself the changes since I was 23 to 25 to where I'm like, and I think that's also partially because of the experiences I've gone through from playing the game than being on television. I'm like, well, damn, I have a lot more wisdom, maturity, composure, and I could probably, dial some of that into a game if I played a little bit older now. And I'm always erring on the side of you should probably play Survivor in your late 20s to 30s. I think that's just generally like, I think, it's the frontal lobe development and all that stuff. But I also think
Rizzo 26.
Well, I think clearly it's like, it's not actually, there's no universal general statement you can make about this, because you have people like, Jelinski, who I think people wanted to put on some like, this is why 22-year-olds are, not good at this game and you should wait. But then you have people like Sam, who was literally my age out there on Survivor, and, he did incredible strategically and he was able to like find that focus. Whereas I think I was still, there were parts of me that I think it really helped me out. And I think it was a crucial component to my social game, which is the reason why I think made it as far as I did without really receiving any votes. But I also think it's a crucial part of the perception of me that was, there's some naivete here, and there is, some ability to sort of like emotionally manipulate this person or whatever. But I think everyone is different. Everyone's life experience is different. I just think the only generalization you can make is that there's really no harm in going on the show when you're like in your 30s. Like, I think that's kind of like the sweet spot. And I kind of knew that when I was applying too. I was like, I think I probably have a better chance to win this if I wait longer and I get more life experience in me, but I want to do it now. So I'm going to try and do it now. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's actually interesting because Mike, when you brought that up, I mean, Teeny, the fact that you were 20, I completely forgot. Like, to me, you didn't read as 23, but I think that goes into what you're saying about being able to connect. Like, I look at, I don't know, there's some players that immediately I'm like, oh, you just come across as young. So it's maybe not necessarily about an age thing, but I do think the internal mentality is probably true for like a lot of people. I mean, I think myself, like when I was in my early 20s versus now, oh my God, like I definitely feel like sometimes a completely different person. So, so yeah, I completely understand that perspective.
I think it also depends, as always, on the people you're there with too.
Yeah.
Like you see Rizzo and Jawan especially seem to really connect over like the youth vernacular. Like I remember a few times like Jawan turns to Rizzo like, dude, cinema, right? Like it seems that as much as Rizzo might sort of be the mascot for the generation gap that Nate was espousing early on, he has a lot of company. I mean, Sophie B's talking about mukbangs. Like Rizzo is kind of surrounded by more of his peers than you might think, despite the fact that he is the youngest person in the cast. I mean, I looked this up. I didn't even think about this. Alex was only 1 year older than him. Alex was 26 when he got voted out. So it's not like he's this baby of the cast surrounded by complete adults. Yes, Christina and Steven are a decade older than him, but I think especially with the people he was able to surround himself with are more closely related in age and perhaps more in like behaviors and just philosophies, that it does not stick out as much. But again, if we look at like, why is nobody targeting this guy? Maybe there's a chance that, Teeny, much like you were talking about, there could be a similar attitude here. Like, well, he's just the little brother. Like, he's not necessarily as much of a big threat. Yeah, he has an idol, but it's sort of like, if your brother got something cool for Christmas, like, good for you, buddy. Yeah, you hang on to that RC car. You're going to have a great time with that. I'm going to go drive my B&W.
All right. Yeah, it's interesting. It is. I think it is definitely dependent. And like in my experience, it was the same thing. It's like, like Gabe was like 26. I was 23. Like Sierra was like 27. Like we were all more or less peers. And then of course we have Saul, who is like perpetually like a 19-year-old in a 44-year-old man's body. So yeah, it all depends on the people you're with. And I think there's ways to leverage your youth in connecting to like anybody of any age. And it just depends on, doing that.
All right, well, let's get into our game this week. And look, this is going to be admittedly the biggest stretch, much like the people were stretching their legs in this week's immunity challenge, because generally our games have some sort of connection to Survivor and the episode and Survivor history. This one admittedly does not. And so apologies in advance if people wanted a game specifically about this episode or this season. But Steven Ram served me up a veritable fried chicken meal of content this week when he divulged many, many hashtag space facts over the course of this immunity challenge. Now, before we get into that, Teeny, as someone who has participated in a number of these endurance challenges, would you rather have someone, quote unquote, distracting you, taking your mind off of things by listing occupational fun facts off like Steven did? Or are you someone that's like, I need to tune out any miscellaneous noise and focus on the matter at hand?
No, so like my own brain and my own thoughts are like more distracting than like any person's monologue about this or that, or like any of Jeff's narration could ever be. Like I was my own worst enemy in those situations. So like that doesn't matter. And because that doesn't matter, it just comes down to like a matter of preference for me of like what I'm listening to. And I don't think that my preference will ever be listening to like someone talk about space facts. And so yeah, no, like it would be distracting for sure, because it would also be competing with like whatever I was thinking. But it would also just be like, dude, please, we get it. And so yeah, that's kind of how I would feel there. Yeah. Like if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna do the thing, if you're gonna like use the time up in the endurance challenge to like talk about something, like Christian Hubicki it and ask Jeff some questions, get us something. I don't know. And maybe this is just like, I'm not a STEM person, so this isn't like my particular area of interest, but yeah, I don't know. I would have been like, shut the fuck up. Sorry.
Well,
I don't know.
I know. Let's go to our local STEM person here in Liana. What would your thoughts have been? Would this be too close to home for you, even though it's very far away from home in outer space?
I think I would have been into it. I think about like when I've done obviously I've never been on Survivor, so I can't speak for sure. But like when I think about those moments, like when I ran my half marathons, I wanted anything to get me out of my brain. Like anything to distract me from the physical pain that I was in. So I think I would have appreciated genuinely learning about anything. Like just please distract me, please.
I think my favorite part was when somebody dropped out and Jeff's like, and that's the end of space facts. Thank you.
Yeah, it was Sage. Sage dropped and Jeff was like, I'm done with this. That's enough.
And then thanks for the distraction, Steven. Back to the challenge that we're all here to do. It's like, you could have kept going, Jeff. You didn't have to cut him off.
No more space.
Killed me. That was so funny.
No more space.
Like, all right,
Jeff was
we'll play your little game while we're all at this stage, but now let me do my job. It's like two can exist at the same time, Yeah. Like the sun and the moon shouldn't be seen in the sky at the same time, but like these two celestial bodies can be in the same plane.
No, he couldn't do his job. He couldn't do his typical commentary. Maybe that's how he felt. He was like, Steven's getting me out of a job here, man.
I feel like if you're Jeff, though, you tie it in, right?
I do think, though, like, it's tough because it's like Jeff hosting the challenge and narrating what's going on or whatever is like a part of it. But like, it actually like could impact somebody's ability to focus if someone starts talking about something else, which like is a strategic decision on Steven's behalf. Like, because for me, as somebody who's like really not interested in this realm, I would feel like I'm in like a science class, which would be like painful for me mentally, which adds on to the physical pain. Yeah. And so like, I would actually be like, is this even fair? Like I'm being sabotaged right now.
Ooh, I like that perspective.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. It's like, I don't know. I guess like it's a good choice. And Steven ended up winning. So I guess it's like kind of, for me, that would have sabotaged me. I know that for sure. Like that would have really made it hard for me. And so for that, I give him points.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so let's say you're in Steven's position from the 47 cast, what facts could you have given out that you think could have gotten in the minds of your opposition to make them drop out?
Yeah, so I was hanging out with Stephanie Berger from 48 recently, and I started talking about YouTube, and it dawned on me that not everyone was like a child who grew up watching YouTube and YouTubers, and so she was asking me all these questions. So that is definitely an area I could talk about, like the culture of YouTubers and British YouTube and Tyler Oakley and Zoella and Alfie and the Dan and Phil drama. Like there's so many offshoots there that I could have gone on and on and on about. Yeah, there's a lot of little niche interests that I have that are in some way always tied back to like the internet and YouTube and all this stuff. But there's also, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what each person on my season would talk about. I will say that like Gabe at one point went into on season 47, we were at camp and he started talking about like the infrastructure, politics, and things about Baltimore. And I have never been more engrossed in a topic before in my life. And again, like politics is kind of much like science for me, where I'm like, unless it's being packaged up to me in a really interesting way.
Unless I'm in a Zoran commercial, I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Well, like literally. But Gabe got me so like invested in the politics of Baltimore that when we got out of the game, like the very first question I asked was like, who won the mayoral Baltimore campaign? And was it Sheila Dixon? Because he worked with like this woman, Sheila Dixon. And like, I literally have like, I give him so much credit for being able to get me that engrossed. So if Gabe had talked about Sheila Dixon's mayoral campaign for the city of Baltimore, maybe I would have won the challenge. Maybe I would have won more challenges. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the key. It actually can't be too interesting, right? It can't be fun facts. It's got to be unfun facts because if like I was, if you, Teeny, if you were telling me about the history of YouTube, I'd be like, tell me more. Wait, I actually need to stay in this challenge so I can stay closer so I can hear you as you explain as I'm keeping my feet up against the thing. So
yeah, as opposed to like Liana, if you went through like if you just went through the periodic table of elements, like I feel like that's a key example, right?
No, we're gonna go through binary. Okay.
Oh.
0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 2. No, or whatever, like, right? Like that. That would be a very funny way.
Yeah, say don't talk to Teeny about binaries.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say I could talk about a different binary.
We broke the code.
A different binary.
Yeah, I would probably honestly, and Jeff would be so pissed because none of this would make air. I would just start singing the entire score of Rent from the very beginning.
But I would love that. But you have to do every character. Like you're doing Light My Candle and you're both.
Yeah.
And both, exactly. Talking about the binaries. All right, well, I've got some facts here. I've got some space facts because I was so inspired by this. I love Steven's enthusiasm and passion for outer space. I talked about this from the very beginning. I still think he has a career, regardless of what happens this season, as like a science YouTuber. Or like, I keep seeing these commercials about TikTok people. You know, like the one who like teaches kids math and is like, I just started teaching math on TikTok and now millions of kids know how to add 1 + 1 because of me. Like I could see Steven being that for the youths out there. And so now we are going to educate or see how educated you might be because I found some space facts of my own.
Ooh.
And so, Teeny, I am so sorry. We're going back to school.
It's okay.
No, Teeny's just gonna quit.
So yeah, I've got a handful of questions here. You know what? I'll have you each answer. We'll have you both answer each question here. We'll make this be truly educational. So I will read a question. You will both separately come up with your answers. We'll go with the honor system, and then we'll reveal. And we shall see how fun these facts are about space, and who will have the most fun and take away the victory, and who will burn up in orbit in the process. All right, let's get into it. And thank you to the various sources out there in the internet. I did double check my sources. Wanted to make sure everything was verifiable. This wasn't just thrown out there onto the internet, because I could imagine there's a lot of disinformation out there about outer space. It's an endless void of misinformation in general. But these are some verifiable facts, at least from my perspective, that I was able to figure out about space. Question 1. And this is multiple choice. How many miles above sea level does outer space begin? A, 62. B, 768, C, 5,205, D, 226,123. So either 62,
I'm so glad it's multiple choice.
768, 5,205, or 226,123.
Okay, I have my answer.
I have
All
my answer
right.
as well.
All right, Teeny, what do you think?
I think it's D.
You think it's D, the 200,000+ miles? Liana, what about you?
I went the complete opposite of the spectrum. I said A.
I think
Liana?
it's okay. Wait. Pause.
Yes.
I think it's either D or C.
Okay. Teeny is having his options right now. Not to belabor the suspense, you would be wrong on both counts because
Oh no.
Liana is right. Outer space begins
Okay.
only 62 miles above sea level.
Let me give you my logic.
200
Airplanes
miles.
fly at 30,000 feet. That's like 6 miles approximately. And you're like pretty high up there,
Yeah.
right? In like an airplane. Does that make sense?
No, it does actually. I think that, yeah, sometimes people mistake feet when they're like, oh yeah, like we're 40,000 feet. Like clearly that's a long distance until from the ground to up above to outer space. But like, again, if you put it in miles, which is 5,280 feet, like it does not amount to much. So it's pretty wild though. Like if you drove 60 miles an hour, theoretically, if your car defied gravity like Elphaba, you could get to outer space in a little over an hour.
Now, to be fair, Teeny's answers were also correct. You are in outer space.
That is true.
Oh, I guess it was start. Where does outer space start?
Well,
You
I'm
could-
just like, Mike, did you
Okay.
come up with that like specific 200,000 number?
Yeah. Just pulled it
That's
right out of the old noggin.
He's a number man.
I'm my own
Well, I'm
orange
literally
genie.
gonna get clowned for that like forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
Well, again, this is we're all learning fun facts about space that just bends the
Yes.
mind.
I never
much like-
claimed to be good at numbers, so
There you go. Exactly. Well,
Are there more
luckily,
numbers?
luckily, this one isn't a number. There
Okay.
might be one more number question, but that's
Okay.
about it.
Uh-oh.
I
Okay.
know you were told there would be no math, but I may have lied. Okay, so here's the next question. This is a true or false. So again, we're between one or two choices. True or false? Australia is wider than the moon. True or false? The country continent Australia, of which Hart, Teeny's dear friend, has watched many seasons of Survivor in, is wider than the moon in the sky. What do you think, Liana?
Bruh, I don't know. I said true.
Teeny,
I'm
what do you
gonna say
think?
2 or 2.
It is true.
Okay.
Australia is wider than the moon. Australia is
That's crazy.
600 kilometers wider than the moon. The moon is about like
Sick.
3,400 kilometers. Australia is
What?
4,000 kilometers. Now, obviously, it is not bigger than the moon because the moon is a big ass circle, a sphere.
Mhm.
But at least if you're
Mhm.
measuring the girth of if you're measuring the girth of the moon, Australia is a more of a chode compared to
girthy.
the moon.
I love it.
All right. Question 3. We're going back to multiple choice here, and let's go into
Oh,
some
no.
fun. Let's go into some fun body horror perspectives here. Steven may be having dreams about chickens, but you
What?
all may be having nightmares with this next question. Which of the following would not happen to you if you were left in space without a spacesuit for 15 seconds? So, if you were stuck in space, did not have a suit, the good news is for 15 seconds, you're okay. You're a little copacetic. Then things start to veer off a little bit. So again, 3 of these things will start happening. 1 of these things will not happen. A, your body will swell in miscellaneous places. B, all the fluid in your body would boil off. Talk about fluid. C,
Would-
you'll go unconscious. D, you'll start to get a sunburn. So either your body swells in miscellaneous places, all the fluid in your body boils off, you go unconscious, or you start to get a sunburn.
Can I answer?
Please.
I think I'm wrong, but I'm gonna say I really do think I'm wrong, but like whatever. I think it's the sunburn one.
Okay. Sunburn, Liana?
Okay, there's something weird about miscellaneous places. Like, what does that even mean? So I'm gonna say A.
Okay, so indeed, you would start to get a sunburn if you were stranded in the middle of space without a spacesuit because there is so much UV radiation happening with nothing to block it, and the blood in your body would start to, I think, bubbles of nitrogen would start to develop and float to the surface of your skin, which would indeed produce random patches of swelling across your body. But all the fluid in your body would not boil off because of the temperatures that are being reached. So luckily, it would stay in a fluid state, much like is the case of this season. But a lot of other horrors would happen to you as well, where you look like a bulbousy, sunburnt, probably deceased mess by the end of it all.
Yeah, that's horrifying. Thank you for that visual, Mike.
Anytime. Well, let's go with something a little more fun. Something more in the sage variety here. True or false? If you fart in space, it pushes you forward.
True.
Yeah, I'm gonna say true also.
God, I wish it was, but no, it is
No!
I know because
Who's
there was
to say?
Why?
Who's to say?
Well,
Who's
there
to
was
say that an astronaut
Thruster.
hasn't? You know, who's to say that it hasn't happened?
I'm glad that you said that because I took this from an actual Q&A with an astronaut, Paul Sutter, who said that as much as they tried, quote, it was too muffled, not the right type of propulsive nozzle, smiley face emoji.
Okay, if you put a cone up your
Is that from a
butthole.
Reddit AMA? Why is there an emoji?
Listen, this guy
Must
has
have
a
been.
lot of interesting things to talk about.
If you put a cone up your butthole and you direct the force out in a particular direction, would that be the right?
See, I feel like
propulsion
would it be the
mechanism?
opposite though? Like, would it be convex or should it be more concave? You know?
Okay, what if? Yeah, okay, you do have to narrow it down and make it
Right.
teeny, like a teeny tiny hole, because then it's going to speed up the speed of the gas. Okay, look, I just think they didn't have the right tools, but I agree with Teeny. I think that who's to say? I think that this is definitely.
Yeah, I guess the
doable.
answer should be like false as of now, right? Like false without
Yeah.
the proper equipment.
Let's dare to dream, guys. Okay.
All right. Next up, what contains the strongest magnetic fields in the known universe? We're talking about, to quote Jesse from Baking
Is this
Bad.
open-ended?
No. This is not just to talk about anything.
Oh.
This is multiple choice. But a la Jesse Pinkman, we're talking about magnets, bitch. What contains the strongest magnetic fields in the known universe? Is it A, the North Pole, B, the center of Jupiter, C, a type of neutron star, or D, a black hole?
I
So
think
we
it's
have-
E. I think it's E, an MRI machine.
Yes, exactly.
Because I just recently watched the new Final Destination for a second time, where he gets put into the MRI machine because he has a King Henry piercing, and yeah, which then led me to like go down the rabbit hole of like, does that really happen to people? And it does. You guys probably already know that, but like it does, and like that's crazy. Okay, but
I mean, as we know, all the best astronomers were consulted for that MRI scene in Final Destination. So we've got the North Pole, the center of Jupiter, a type of neutron star, or a black hole. Liana, what are your thoughts?
I said C, a neutron star.
Okay, Teeny?
I said C, a neutron star. I love when she goes first.
I believe you at face value. And in this case, you both are correct. It is a type of neutron star called a magnetar. Now, I brought this up because here's some more fun, gruesome shit to keep you up at night. So a magnetar is a neutron star. It's the core of a dead star made of a ball of specifically neutrons. And the magnetic field is so strong that if you got within 1,000 kilometers of this magnetar, the magnetic field around it would strip all of the electrons out of your body. You would turn into a ball of atomic gas instantaneously because the atomic structure of your body would change just within getting 1,000 kilometers of this thing.
Wow.
All right. Note to self: never go close to what sounds like Reptar, or like a Godzilla knockoff.
Yeah, Magnetar.
Magnetar.
Sounds
Oh,
like
it's
like a
Magnetar.
final evolution of a Pokemon.
Yes, I love Magnetar. It's my favorite.
All right.
Okay, that's horrifying.
Yeah, isn't it? It's just fun. That should be another Final Destination movie. Is all the weird ways you can die in space.
Ooh.
You know, they think that they could escape the Grim Reaper, the hot Grim Reaper, by going to the reaches of our known universe, but death comes
all
for
I'm
everyone.
learning is that in Fast and the Furious, when they went to space, that was fake. That's all I'm hearing from all of this. That was not actually real.
Yeah, there were no
That's
weird
sad.
bulbous patches on the Rock's body or anything.
No.
All right, here's another true or false for you. True or false? The average distance between asteroids in the asteroid belt, which, as a reminder, is the big belt that sort of vivisects our known universe, our galaxy, from Mars and Jupiter. The asteroids in the asteroid belt, the distance between two asteroids there is 1/8 the distance between the Earth and the Moon. So as we know, if you stack all the planets up against each other, they would not reach the Earth to the Moon. This was a fact that Steven gave out on the broadcast, was something that when I was looking up facts was mentioned many, many times as a fun fact about space. So I think it was on the minds of a lot of people. But if you look at that distance, the average distance between two asteroids in the asteroid belt is 1/8 that distance.
Okay.
Teeny, I know that requires a lot of math, but what do you think? True or false?
Oh, I thought you were just telling us that it's true.
It could be true or false. If you think it's true, or
True.
Teeny says
Yeah,
true.
sure. Yeah, true, sure.
It is false. Actually,
What?
I
It is-
literally don't even know what the question was.
I love it.
I don't know.
It is literally twice the distance. So if you watch all these like space movies and you see like, oh, I gotta dodge these asteroids, that is completely false.
Because they're super far apart.
They're incredibly far apart. This is like not even two cars in separate sides of a parking lot. These are two cars in opposite parking lots in separate countries. You cannot hit another car. So you are totally fine dodging asteroids. You do not need the best navigator to navigate our particular asteroid belt.
Wow, I feel like I'm learning so much about fiction. It's false.
Exactly. Even though, and so was this question as well. All right. Next one here. The sun accounts for what percent of the mass of the entire solar system? So if you took everything in the solar system and you added up all of their masses, the sun would account for what percentage of this? And I'll give you some options. This is not multiple choice. 10%, 45%, 75%, 99%.
You know, I was just hanging out with Saul, who told me that you could fit, I forget the number because I'm not good with numbers, but he said you could fit a lot of Earths into the sun. And I remember the feeling it gave me, which was, oh, wow, the sun is enormous. And so, can you give me the options again? It was 45, 99.
It was 10, 45, 75, 99.
So I've been wrong almost every single one. I'm gonna say it's either B or C. I'm literally like, when I took tests in school, I would literally like bubble in multiple things. So I'm gonna just
come through Scantron.
So
yes,
I probably will be wrong on both, but
and that always annoyed me. Did you all have those classes where it was like A, B, C, D, A, B, A, D? Like they wanted to create like 9 to 10 options, so they had to like double up the letters.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I never want to take another Scantron ever in my entire life.
All right, Liana, what say you though? So Teeny, split the baby, went with B. Oh my! Why do you have a Scantron lying around?
Why do you have that? What is that for?
My roommate's a teacher, and I literally looked on the table and there's a Scantron, which is so funny.
Okay, so the options were 10, 5%, 45%, and 99%.
10, 45, 75, 99%.
So I'm hearing what Saul said about the universe. I know
he would know a lot about the sun because he is Saul.
The sun, that's true. The sun is massive. I agree with that. Now, does that mean that it contains a lot of mass? Because you're not talking about volume, you're talking about mass. So I'm between either 5 or 99%. Those are my two that I'm going extremes either way. I feel the emotion Teeny put out there about the sun. I'm gonna go with 99.
The sun accounts for 99. Not only that, 99.86% of all the mass in our solar system.
That's a lot of mass.
If you put
That's
all of the
boy.
planets and all of the stars and all of the asteroids together, it accounts for less than 1/4% of the entire mass in our solar system.
Our sun goes hard. That's wild.
Our sun is thick. All right.
Thick.
Is there more?
I got one more.
Okay, wait. Okay.
Teny's
All
like,
right.
please let me out of
You're
this.
going to fill out the Scantron. All right. I've got one more question for you.
Wait, can I phone a friend?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And it's my roommate who is literally the science teacher who has the Scantrons.
Oh my God. Okay. Yes. Let's bring this person in. Hi, how are you?
Answer science question.
Good, how are you guys?
Good. I've got a
You could
science
have had
question
me
for
having
you.
a perfect score on this.
I just heard you guys talking solar system from down the hall, and I texted him like, "Wait, what's the bit? What's going
Okay,
on?"
all right. Listen, I got a space fact for you. There was a lot of space facts on Survivor, so I'm not sure how
Yes.
measured up you are on it. We've learned a lot of fun things.
I have no
one more
promises.
one more thing up your sleeve. So, which of the following planets, technically speaking, would float in water? Is it Venus, Saturn, Uranus, or Neptune? Is it
My
Venus?
brain's like, well,
Neptune's
Saturn
like icy, isn't it? And ice floats on water.
does it. My brain's like my brain's like Saturn has an inner tube.
Yeah, it floats.
Saturn has a natural life preserver.
Wait, what are the lists? It's Venus.
So it's Venus, Saturn, Uranus. Surprisingly, I'm not going with the full bloom pronunciation, and Neptune.
Yeah, what?
Rip it, Uranus. I want to just answer that one.
Your
What do you
anus
think,
floats.
Julia?
My guess is Neptune, but
Yeah, true. Okay, we're going with Neptune.
I could. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
All right.
Hey, it's
Neptune,
okay,
the
I would've
Roman
gone
god of
either way.
water, would only make sense. Liana, what about you?
Yeah, I was sold by the inner tube theory with Saturn. So that's what I'm gonna
Let's
go
go.
with.
I like Neptune.
That inner tube theory holds water because Saturn is the correct answer.
Oh, dude, you didn't need me.
Like
Didn't
that
need
is
me.
so
That's
funny.
sick.
That is
That's
so
awesome.
funny.
Yeah, Saturn.
And then
So,
like,
so as
Wacky.
as Liana and some people might know, of course, if anything has a density less than 1 gram per cubic centimeter, that means that it will float above water. Anything greater than that will sink. If you had a body of water large enough to support Saturn, its density is 0.687 grams per cubic centimeter. So technically speaking, it could float on the water if you had enough to support it.
Doesn't Neptune have like a core or like because Neptune and Uranus, one of them has like a core, like a solid core, right? Even though they are technically gas giants. Oh well, whatever. Anyway, I'll Google it later.
Yeah, I think Neptune's core is like rock. I would imagine like probably ice, right? Because it's very far away from the sun.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Those are all the space facts I've got. If you had somehow come down to a tiebreaker, it would have been how long does it take for light to get from the sun to the Earth, which was 8 minutes and 20 seconds, just about.
it is.
Okay.
The answer is 200,000 miles.
I'll give it to you, Teeny. Congratulations, you've won the game. You are the master of space facts. I am obsessed with all the people from your life that you're bringing into this podcast.
No, I know. So funny. So funny.
Takes the village.
Yeah, well,
It
thank
takes
you
a
all
village
for
to become
putting
fair.
your knowledge to the test. Thank you to Steven for inspiring this, and to all the great people out there on the internet who give us so much great information about what exists outside of our big blue marble. But there is a lot of stuff to be concerned about, to talk about on our big blue marble, and that brings us to our typical end of the B&B, where we ask our guests to give a charity or a cause that is important to them that they want to highlight to the listeners out there. So, Teeny, the ball or planetoid is in your court. What would you like to highlight?
Yeah, so I am going to highlight, this big organization that helps all, trans youth, queer youth. It's something that I have definitely donated to before, and that I think is very important. So I'm just going to plug the Trevor Project. You probably already know about it, but I think it's just, it's big and popular for a reason, and it's because of the good work it does. And so, I actually don't even know, I'm 25 now. I can't call myself a trans youth. But as someone who wants to, support and help all of those who are young and figuring out their identities, their sexualities, who have varying levels of acceptance and support around them, I definitely think this is something to, put your efforts into.
Very well put. So everybody, please check out the Trevor Project, donate, or at least discover the ways that this incredibly important work is being done. Teeny, this was such a delight. Thank you for coming on, for lending us in on all the Survivor fans and Science fans that are in your life, for giving us, I think, some really great perspectives on this episode that I wasn't thinking about. This was such a fun time. Anything else you want to say? Anything you'd like to plug for the listeners out there?
Honestly, I had a wonderful time discussing this episode. This was a great environment for me to be able to, talk through some of the strategies of Survivor, that obviously sometimes even go over my own head. And the only thing that I want to really say is just that I know that Stephanie Berger is listening to this, and I really cannot bear to be made fun of for the Miles answer. So I beg of you, if you've made it to this point, please cut me a break on that one.
Oh, I do like that. Like, anything you'd like to plug. Yeah, can this one particular person give me some slack?
There you go. That's really it. I always say at this point, it's like, if you want to be seeing what I'm seeing, you already are. You know what I mean? Follow me on Instagram, and everything that I do will be put there. So yeah, there we go.
Very well put, as per usual. Liana, what would you like to highlight?
Yeah, Puyi and I are checking along with the Puyi and Liana Lounge. Just a completely random weirdo episode this week, but next week we're going to be doing, we have a pretty fun activity planned, so I would definitely check that out. But otherwise, yeah, just kicking it, just learning about space.
Yeah, I would say, listen, if I don't want to put this idea too far forward, but like, you want to take some of these space facts and give Puyi a space quiz. It's a good way to pass the time.
Quiz! Yeah, exactly. We'll see. I mean, I think the Miles answer. Well, first of all, he's metric system anyway, so that's already going to confuse him. So that'll be a fun one to do.
Gotta love it. Well, I have great stuff bubbling to the surface, much like nitrogen in your system if you were ever lost in space without a spacesuit. Of course, I got the chance to interview Alex this week, which was great. I think, as we talked about before, got some interesting perspectives from him as to some of the stuff that he was doing. Got to find out that Soph was not terribly happy about Alex leaving her out of the merge vote, to the point where she basically never wanted to work with him again. So he talked a bit about that dynamic, why he played that idol all the way back. Remember that wild thing with the Jeremiah vote where he almost got voted out with an idol in his pocket, and so much more. Of course, covering The Amazing Race. Teeny, I know you're a Big Brother fan. Have you been watching The Amazing Race this fall?
Sure.
All right, I'm buying you at face value.
I watched The Amazing Race whenever they filmed it, and I couldn't open Twitter without seeing what part of the world they were in.
That's very true. Very true. Well, a lot of shit hit the fan this week. There was an incredibly messy, chaotic vote that occurred, and so you want all of us breaking that down. I talked with the most recently eliminated team as well. And then over on the Reality Flash this week, we got a lot of information over the past week as to like the big broadcast networks releasing their mid-season and spring lineups. And so I talked a bit about what's coming. The big to-do about Survivor is, for those of you who don't know, we have a Survivor 50 premiere date of February 25th, but that will not be the first time we'll be watching Survivor in the year 2026, because for the first time, they are doing these encore episodes, which are 10 episodes that will be aired in the 2 weeks leading up to the premiere, highlighting various members of the Survivor 49 cast. Teeny, do you hope that like an Operation Italy shows up there?
So Like
It's mixed, right? Because it's like this is a great episode, not a great episode for me.
For me,
No.
because obviously I'm so proud to have been a part of Survivor 47. I'm so proud to have, been the kind of antagonist to this giant move. But God, when Operation Italy came out, I have never taken a larger beating. And so you know what? I guess, I'm gonna rewrite the narrative, and I'm gonna say yes, because I think because the season's out and about now, if it were to air, I'd be able to maybe speak to a lot more things than I was able to right then and there. And so I think, I think for the hell of it, I would love to see it again. And I also think it was genius. I was genius of the three of them. I want them to get their flowers always for it. But I could, I know that there's probably some crossover in those who talk about Survivor online and who listen to this. So just remember when you're watching Operation Italy again, that this was now 2 years ago. And so just remember that before you make criticisms about the people who were there and having a temper tantrum. They are now 25. They are no longer 23. And so
that should be the disclaimer at the very, like, Jeff talks to the camera like, all right, everybody, just a key thing here. The people you watched, especially like a Borneo episode, like the people you watched back then were in their 20s. Now they're in their 40s, just for context. They didn't flash freeze everybody and wake them up now in this day and age.
I have to assume that it's probably going to be one of the 10. Like, it's the highest rated IMDb. Genevieve's going on. It's like a really special, almost like bottle episode of the series, which is honestly just so comical because like it couldn't, like, while it was so good, it like I am literally like the one victim to the like scheme in a way. Well, that's not true. Caroline Vidmar.
I was gonna say there's really a little
Caroline
bit more
Vidmar is the victim, but God, like it is so funny. Like I remember I watched that episode at a pre-screening at Rutgers, which is where I went to school, and CBS had like a pre-screening, so I got to see it like a day early. Like everyone who was there was kind of like, queer and all, and like from New Jersey, so like they were like super like stoked on kind of like how I acted, but I was just looking at all of them and going, you guys don't understand. It's like, this changes for me tomorrow. It's like this whole experience stops in its tracks for me tomorrow. Like I was like, I need you guys. Everyone who was like, that was so funny, I was like, please be joining the talk boards tomorrow to say that, because it's going to be rough. And then that was a crazy time. So it'll just be like a hilarious prank if it comes out again and airs all over again.
We'll see. Maybe I'm just debating if I might do a podcast on the line just like predicting what the 10 episodes might be. Because it's interesting because like you could say Operation Italy would make sense, but like if it's meant to highlight members of the 50 cast, you could argue like the Keyshawn episode is more of a Genevieve highlight than Operation Italy,
I would like that one. I'd prefer that one. And
those who were left out of prefer Keyshawn over Operation Italy.
Well, you could also say the Salvo. She did that too.
Well.
She did quite a lot. She got quite a lot done in our season. But the Keyshawn vote, I think, really shows her individual ability to just assess and attack. It's incredible. But obviously I'm pulling for the Keyshawn one. I don't, we know.
Well, this was an incredible time to have you on, Teeny. So thank you so much again. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. How well you did on the Space Fact, what you thought your thoughts might be as to the dynamics we're either seeing or not seeing on our screens. What episodes you think might get picked for this encore episode series. Regardless, Liana and I will be back next weekend, a post-Thanksgiving episode of the B&B. No fried chicken to dig into, but I think a lot of turkey talk. Maybe post-Survivor turkey talk as well, considering that it's airing the day before Thanksgiving. But we will dig into it, much like a sumptuous feast, next weekend with a special guest. We're putting the plans in motion in May. We're trying to get something in the works, so I won't reveal anything just yet, but it should be a fun special podcast coming to your feeds next weekend. Special thanks to everyone behind the scenes at RHAP for packaging this podcast for your eyes and your ears, and Will from America for his fantastic theme song, which I would never tune out during an individual immunity challenge. Liana and I will be back next week covering episode 10 of Survivor 49. Until next time, everybody, we'll check you out at your next stay.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.